So Alicia told me about this coffee analogy that you have. So I have to ask, what's the problem with coffee?
Just for the sake of this conversation, let's just say that you're an individual that likes coffee, right?
I do.
Okay, great. Before I give you that cup of coffee, I just want to let you know that it's poison. Would you still want the coffee?
Probably not.
That's the way that I see the conversation around toxic masculinity. There's this prevailing idea that masculinity needs to be redefined. I do not believe that masculinity needs to be redefined. I believe it needs to be defined. When people talk about masculine, I'm not talking about beards and cigars and penis size. It's about the energetic behaviors, values that we espouse. If you do a Google search on masculinity, then one of the first things that you're going to start seeing is how toxic it is. Because of the fact that toxicity is the barrier to masculinity for a lot of guys, they go, well, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to be labeled a misogynist by even exploring masculinity. I asked the guy the other day, I said, do you identify as a man? He goes, yeah, I'm a man, I'm a human, I'm a being, I'm a this. I was like, what? I was like, dude, are you a man? Period. You get to claim it. You actually get to claim the fact that you are a man. You get to just be whoever the hell you are.
This is Sparta!
All right, welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and today's conversation is for everyone: men, women, fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, and the topic, masculinity. On the line with me, CEO of the All In Man, founder of the Firestarter Nation, could have been First Starter as well, but Firestarter Nation, leader, husband, and father. Please join me in welcoming Sanyika, the Firestarter Street, to the show. How are we doing, brother?
Oh man, I am exceptional. It's good to be here on the Spartan Leadership Podcast. Every time I think about the Spartan Leadership, I mean, obviously it comes back to the movie 300, but I just keep getting goosebumps when I think about 300 people going up against a mega army and being ready to throw down in the middle of it. So he had the guys on the top of the hill. He said, what qualifies you? He said, what's your occupation? He asked the guy, he's like, I'm a carpenter. He's like, what's your occupation? He said, I'm a swordsmith or something like that. And then he's like, what? He's like, Spartans, what's your occupation? They're like, who?
Yeah, so good. Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's part of where the symbol came from, right? I had to envision that. My consulting company is Kairos, and that's ancient Greek word as well as a biblical term for the moment is now is the Greek definition, and the biblical definition is a divine moment when God acts. So I carried that Greek theme over and looked at Spartan leadership, and it was cool to see and surprising to see that it wasn't taken. I thought it might have been taken by like Michigan State University or something, but it wasn't. So we're rocking and roll with it and building a movement around it. So it's been fun.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well done.
So thank you. So today you're on a mission to pull the boy out of men. Not your first mission, and certainly not your last. Your journey to servant leadership has evolved over your professional career. Where did your journey begin, though, and how did you get to where you are today?
How did I get to where I am today? I call it a rock bottom sandwich.
Oh, man. Now I know we're in for a ride with a title like that.
Yeah, for sure, dude. It was a rock bottom. I call it a rock bottom sandwich because I was already at rock bottom, and then rock bottom smashed on top of me. It was like an Oreo cookie, and I was the filling, So, I was at a point when I was 35 years old, at a point in my life when I was, financially broke, emotionally broken, 2 DUIs, a girlfriend paying the bills, 40 pounds overweight. And I was hiding in every aspect of my life. Look, I'm 6'8". I weigh almost 300 pounds, and I was hiding. Make no question about it. I was hiding. I was trapped in my own shame, trapped in my own fear of stepping out into being the person that I feel God called me to be. And I don't think anybody is talented enough to squash their gifts completely when they're hiding. So I had some success in my period of sort of emergence. but everything started from that place when I was at my rock bottom, man. So, so the basically what happened was I was 35 years old and I hit this sort of awakening point. And I looked at my life and I was like, is this the life that I really want to live? Is this the life that I really want to have? Do I really want to be codependent on a woman? Do I really want to be in a situation where I don't feel comfortable or confident in who I am as a man? Like I don't feel like I feel like one of the most powerful things that you can have as a man, you're one of your greatest tools in your kit is a clear point of view. Is a clear point of view.
Does that mean vision or what? Sorry, you're going to go into that. I was just making sure that I was clear.
Yeah, a clear point of view, meaning your vision, your belief system, and your value set. So a clear point of view, meaning what you stand for, the point that you really want to go, and the values and the principles that will guide you in that process. Right.
That's really good.
And so for me, I didn't have any of that shit. So I was like, but I felt this urge to start to define those things for myself. So that was during the period of time. And of course, these miracles and these moments happened. I joined the entrepreneurs group in LA. And in this entrepreneurs group, some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world were in that entrepreneurs group. Guys like Dave Asprey and Jim Quick and, like those guys, those are all metal guys. So when I joined metal, dude, I was broke. It was the membership was, about $100 a month at the time. And I couldn't even afford the membership. You know what I'm saying? I was like, look, if my cell phone gets cut off, at least I can borrow somebody in metals. And I walk into this environment, I walk into this room full of these high achieving men. Every Saturday is like a TED Talk, 4 hours, it's breakfast, a couple hours of talk, and then a post, like breakout. And then I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, all these guys are more accomplished and more successful than I've ever been in my life. Like, why do I belong? I don't belong. Imposter syndrome, all those different things start to emerge.
Yeah.
And I remember a quote from Les Brown. He said, sometimes you need to believe in somebody else's belief in you until your belief is strong enough to kick in.
That's a really powerful quote from Dr. Les Brown.
Yeah. And I remember that download and I said, you know what? I said, this is an opportunity for me to be a student, for me to learn. And that's exactly what I've started to learn. And then I took that moment and then I transitioned. So the rock bottom went from me transitioning to being in that environment and just the environment impacting me powerfully. Men who were asking me questions about what my commitments were, who I wanted to be, when I would deliver, why I hadn't delivered on something that I said that I was going to do. And I realized in my life that I was not in alignment and I was not operating in an integrity. I wasn't all in. Right. So I ended up moving to 6 months into joining that organization. I was like, man, I got to get my life together. And so I had an opportunity after having a conversation with my friend to move down to San Diego and to take a sales job. And he was like, yo, they're making 10 to 20 grand a month, more money than I ever made in my life. I couldn't even get close to smelling that amount of money. I was like, this is impressive. So I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get down to San Diego. I went down to San Diego. I interviewed for the job. I got the job. Actually, the person who interviewed me for the job, she didn't even tell me. She talked to me for an hour and didn't even ask me a single question about the job. At the end of the conversation, I was like, do I get the job? She was like, of course you got the job. You were referred by your friend. She's like, it's a commission job. If you don't do good, you're going to, whatever, right? Of course you got the job. So I go down there and I was like, I'm going to live like a student. I'm telling you, I ain't never been more all in my life. I didn't have a place to stay. I had a 92 BMW 325i. My 6'8" ass in that car. And when people ask me, it's like the cool thing is that when people ask you what kind of car you got, I go, I got a BMW. It's not a collector's item. It was the inside of the car was so old that the panels were coming off. They were like, it was like that kind of thing. The little RNDP thing with that little plastic thing was peeling up. It was like that kind of thing was on the inside. So I drove that car with no tags, no license down to San Diego. I asked my cousin if I could stay with his mom, and who lived down there. He's like, you can't stay with my mom, but you can stay with my aunt. And so I went down there. I moved in with his aunt that I had never met. Her son was away at school. I stayed in his room. I was like, I'm going to live like a college student. I'm telling you, this kid he was away at Humboldt University. This dude had college all written all in his room. He had a zebra blanket on his futon. He had zebra curtains. I think he even had like a zebra dresser. Like, where do you find a zebra dresser? Like, where is that even? How is that even possible? Right. So I'm staying in that room. My first day was November 15th, 2015. When I got there, 2016 was my first day at the job. I was like, I'm going to open this place. I'm going to close this place. I was like, I'm different than all of you people in here. The people, y'all in here got jobs. I'm trying to save my life. We're different. We're not made the same. In my first 2 weeks, they wanted you to get a deal a day. I got 3 deals in my first 2 weeks in training. December was my first full month. In December, I became the number 2 sales rep out of 28 reps. And that was the point I went from like being broken to literally breaking records. And so that's cool. Where everything started to transform for me.
Well, I want to go back to the decision to join that entrepreneurs group, because someone that's at rock bottom, I just want to know if there was someone that said a word to you, if God whispered to you, or something that was your impetus to join that group. Because I imagine a lot of people at rock bottom, they're like, I'm not putting myself in that room with all these successful people. I'm broke. I don't have a job. I don't have anything skill set wise that's that imposter syndrome would have struck most people prior to even getting in that room. It didn't strike you till you were in the room. So I was just wondering if there's something different or something that happened impetus wise that you're like, yeah, I'm going to pay $100 a month to put myself in a room with a bunch of really successful people that I have nothing in common with.
That's a really powerful question. And, you know, as I check in with myself on that, man, I think that I can feel it, dude. I can feel what was happening in me at that time. Like there was nothing else going on for me at the moment. And I was at a low point because the project I had done had just fallen off the cliff. So now I was confronting some areas of my life where I felt in real deep shame around. And at that moment, it was definitely God whispering to me, you know, because the one skill that I've always been able to rely on has been my ability to be present with people. So I didn't have social anxiety or anything like that. I had a lack of belief and a lack of personal confidence, you know. But there was something ingrained in me that I've always been the first person to greet people and to meet people and to say hello, you know. So in a social environment, it was actually really powerful for me. The only difference is that most of my social environments were nightclubs, and this was a different environment. It was during the day. And it was an environment of guys who were living their lives on purpose. So it challenged me to see things in a new way. And then once I walked in, dude, I was like, at this point, you need something. Mm-hmm. You need something. So just stay the course. And staying the course is definitely really powerful because I now serve on the board of that organization, you know, 7 years later, cool. Almost 8 years after joining, you know.
Organization with big names like Jim Quick, man. That's awesome. And I can only imagine who else is in there that aren't named brand, but very, very wealthy being in the LA area. So that's pretty cool. So Alicia asked me or told me about this coffee analogy that you have. And I love a good coffee analogy. So I have to ask, what's the problem with coffee?
What's the problem with coffee? I wish I actually just finished my cup of coffee, but so this is the way that I look at it. If I, just for the sake of this conversation, let's just say that you're an individual that likes coffee, right?
I do.
Okay, great. So if you're an individual that likes coffee and I go to you and I say, would you like a cup of coffee? What would you say?
Yes.
Perfect. You say yes, right? And then I say, before I give you that cup of coffee, I just want to let you know that it's poison. Would you still want the coffee?
Probably not.
Probably not. Then what if I said the coffee isn't poison? Let's say the entire supply is poison. Are you going to be inspired? No. Hell no, right? You're probably Googling tea right now. It's like, so what is the best tea alternative to coffee that I can use, right? So you start looking that up. And that's the way that I see the conversation around toxic masculinity.
Oh.
is that when we start to look at the idea, first of all, there's this prevailing idea that masculinity needs to be redefined. And I totally disagree with that. I do not believe that masculinity needs to be redefined. I believe it needs to be defined. All right. How can something without an adequate subset of information be adequately defined? It can't. So if there's not an adequate data set of information, then all we have is the prevailing sentiment. And the thing is that if you do a Google search on masculinity, then one of the first things that you're going to start seeing is how toxic it is, how poisonous it is. And so what happens is that men, at a foundational level, there's one thing that all men are searching for, right? And so, so it's like, what's the thing that we're searching for? We're searching for the definition and how we operate as men, the way to operate. What am I supposed to do? Like, I get these values and the vision, but what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to operate? And then how is that operating going to help me accomplish what it is I want to accomplish in my wealth and my health, and definitely in my marriage and my relationship? And so what happens is that because of the fact that toxicity is the barrier to masculinity for a lot of guys, they go, well, I don't want to touch that. It's poisonous. I don't want to be labeled a misogynist by even exploring masculinity. I asked the guy the other day, I said, as a man, I said, do you identify as a man? He goes, yeah, I'm a man. I'm a human. I'm a being. I'm a this. I was like, what? I was like, dude, are you a man? Period. You get to claim it. You actually get to claim the fact that you are a man. And I can't tell you how many guys have issues or reverberations because they have this internal mechanism that is driving them to make everything about them inclusivity. Inclusive, like, I need to be able to include everyone, even in terms of the way that I identify myself. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You get to just be whoever the hell you are.
Yes.
You get to just be whoever the hell you are. And that's what I'm talking about, a clear point of view. So I'm like, I don't believe that as men, that our intention should be to find common ground. You don't need to find common ground. All you need is a clear point of view. A clear point of view finds its own common ground. It attracts people to it and it dispels people from it. It will do the sorting for you. So the thing is that we as men, we get to operate in a way where we say, you know what? So what is masculinity? It's the set of behaviors attributed to men. And so then we go, okay, well, what does that mean in terms of the way that I operate and the way that I show up? But it's a gateway. And then we start to get into like masculine. And when people talk about masculine, I'm not talking about beards and cigars and penis size, right? I'm not talking about like, that's not what masculinity, that's not the encompassing. It's about the energetic behaviors, values that we espouse. So then we start talking about masculine energy and feminine energy. And then we go, oh, that's the gateway. That's the gateway. And then we start talking about who you are as a man and how you operate, how you be in the world, your beingness as a man. We talk about the three primary roles of men as it relates to how we show up in relationships. You respond versus react. Is that you provide structure? Is that you create safety? We talk about protect, provide, preside. And when you talked about provision, many guys, well, this is one of the big misconceptions. So the thing is, they go, oh, I've been providing my whole life. I've been writing checks for everything. Are you sure? Are you sure you've been providing? Because right now, your woman can't feel who you are. She can't see behind the mask. She doesn't know what's really happening underneath. When we talk about protect, provide, preside, right now, brother, you are living in resentment, frustration, anger, hostility, because you have provided no structure. Who do you think you're protecting her from? Wow. You're protecting her from you.
The real you.
The real you.
Yeah.
So
man, that is so good. Go, keep going. Sorry.
So I just wanted to speak to that because that is the thing, is that what's happening in this inside of us is that what are you providing? You're providing the real version, authentic version of yourself. That's what you're doing. You're providing that. You're providing emotional safety. You're providing structure in terms of instruction, how you want your woman to operate and behave with you. I can't tell you how many guys I have conversations with where they talk about how their woman has hit them. This is not an indication that that the majority of domestic violence is perpetrated by men. That's not an advocation of that. What I am saying is that I have conversations with men that are being hit by their women. And the reason that they take it is because they just take it because they go, oh, you know, I'm supposed to be a rock. I'm supposed to be a rock.
I can't do anything back.
Or no, I can't do anything back. Right, exactly. So they go, no, I can't do anything back. And then, well, what does back mean, right? So then the back is that you haven't provided any instruction or inspired and created an environment where you inspire your wife's respect.
That's really powerful thought.
So the thing is that this exploration is so rich and so filled with information that if you block the gateway of entry to it by saying that it's poisonous, and again, just going back, is that this is not an abdication for the fact that men have caused harm in the world. I take responsibility as a man for the fact that men have caused that. We have built some of the most amazing things that have ever been created in the history of this planet. And so we can't just acknowledge the light, we must also acknowledge the shadow.
Yes.
We must acknowledge both. And so if we can be in radical responsibility, which is one of my foundational personal beliefs, is that we can operate in radical responsibility of that. And we can say, look, this is a representation of how we have operated as men. And then this is where we get to go moving forward. But one thing is that when they talk about the idea of rape, like as a masculine behavior, rape is not a masculine behavior, my brother. It is sexual violence.
Yes.
It is sexual violence. It is not a directly attributable masculine behavior. So one of the things that we have
quite the opposite.
Exactly, is that when you have
it's not protecting.
Exactly. It's not protecting. It does not protect. So attributing that specifically to masculinity is lazy. It's conflating. So what we get to do is we get to separate those things so that we can give men the access to the thing that they need, so we can show up in your world the way that you need us to show up for you. And when I say you, I'm talking to women.
Yes. Hey, everybody, you see why he's called the Firestarter? He's starting a fire right now.
We are just getting started.
We are. And this is where I want to roll with alpha vulnerability is one of the things that I talk about a lot. And we talked a little bit about before. And alpha vulnerability, as you're describing masculinity, it's right there. It's being able to be who you are, whether you're an alpha or identify as one, or people call you one, doesn't matter. And being vulnerable to allow the woman see the real you, your partner see the real you, your friends see the real you, which is multi-layered, multifaceted, multi-emotional. That's the real you. And so for so long, generations after generation, we've been taught to hide, conceal emotions. That's not what a man does. We don't cry. We rub dirt on it. We get up. We conceal. We hide those emotions, because that's not what a man does. And you're teaching the exact opposite. I'm preaching the exact opposite, because when I found out that I could be vulnerable and be quote unquote alpha, that's when opportunities, relationships, deeper relationships, everything opened up. Respect towards me, the ability to connect with people all across the spectrum, from alpha to beta to trans to straight to gay to whatever. Like, when you can open up, you can connect to all these different beautiful relationships. The world is far more beautiful when you can be the true you. Mm-hmm. So I love where you're going with that.
Can I speak to the true you version?
Yeah, please do.
In my life before I hit my rock bottom sandwich, I tell people, I moved to LA from DC to act. So I did a TV show when I was in DC, this big reality show on Fox. And then I was like, oh, we're doing national TV. Let me see if I can go pursue more of it. And then I moved out to LA with my ex at the time. And I was pursuing acting. And acting was great. National commercials, a couple of TV shows, a couple of movies. And then, and everybody was like, you ain't gonna get no work, you too big. And I was like, we'll see. So I said, all right, cool. So I ended up taking acting. The acting was great, took it for granted, and then it dropped off. And then I started doing the work. I got into what I really wanted to do, which is songwriting. And songwriting was really powerful for me. So I tell people I'm a writer. I'm just a writer trapped in the body of an NFL lineman. I played basketball at the University of Maryland, but my passion was always been writing. So for me, everything starts with a pen and paper. And so I am a language aficionado without question. And so, when I first joined that entrepreneurs group, I was around so many amazing speakers, and they were like, Sanyika, you have such an amazing presence. Why don't you speak? And one of the things is that when you were at your low stage, and when I was at my low stage, and I used to listen to people, and they were giving me the feedback, initially when we take, one of the biggest things that we get to do as men is we get to learn how to receive. Mm-hmm. Receive compliments, receive insight, receive feedback, receive all of those different things, criticism, all those things. And when I was receiving initially I took the receiving as praise, right? Because I needed it to feel significant, right? So, so one of the, 6 core human needs, Tony Robbins, that kind of thing is significance. Yep. I needed significance. So I was like, I received it as praise. But then once I started to really understand, I started to receive it as data. And when I shifted from receiving the praise as data, then I was like, oh, this is actually something that I could do that would provide value in the world. So I took my writing chops and then I started performing spoken word when I would get on stage and do a keynote. And so when I went down to San Diego and I started to get into my, trying to rebuild my life, the very first piece that I wrote was a piece called Be You. And that piece, Be You, I had a guy who was doing my media kit. He was like, all I need is the copy for it. I didn't know what copy was. I was like, copy? You mean like, where I go to FedEx office and like, what's copy? He's like, no. He's like, oh, whatever. So I ended up, he's like, I came back to him and I was like, he's like, did you do the copy for the deck? I was like, no, but I wrote this spoken word piece. He was like, that's great, but what am I supposed to do with that? Right. Funny thing about it, Josh, is that 7-8 years later, that piece is one of the most powerful pieces that I perform on any stage. It's the piece that I get the most requested to perform.
That's great.
So about
is it poem or how do you perform? Okay.
Spoken word piece. Yeah, poem, spoken word piece. Would you like me to perform it now?
Let's do it. Now you got me intrigued.
So I actually have a video of me doing it on TV, but I'll just perform it directly for you. So the name of the piece is called Be You. So you need to be you, the real you, the brilliant, dynamic, unapologetic you. Screw what everybody thinks, the most energetic you, or the one who cares too much, damn it, the most empathetic you. Whoever you really are, that's the you need to be. Not the you that gives me everything I want. That's the you that's you for me. You need to be so you. People decide whether or not to like you. So when the party's going down, they may or may not invite you. You need to be you, the motivator, inspirator, the you who sees greatness in me and helps me believe. So when I'm suffocated by fear, it's you. Your truth helps me to breathe. And I think that I already know the superhero you. What I'm really trying to get to know is the was a zero you. Not just the successful you, but the loser you too. The you who you keep most protected, that's the you I wish I knew. Couldn't admit the pain, the fake smile you. Indecisive about your future. We gonna be here a while you. Hiding feelings up your sleeve, no cards on the table you. Ice cold heart, the emotionally disabled you. The self-doubt inflicted used to think I'm trash you. The one scared at the wheel, watching life go past you. You need to be you, the real you, the you to struggle. No cash, 2 jobs, shows your hustle and how you juggle. And if you got it all figured out, I'm not talking to you. But if you block someone from receiving this message, then I am walking through you. Because there's a you somewhere out there that couldn't get over the hump. And I need to reach that you before that you decides to jump. Many of you scared and restricted by what people say. The reason that you can't be you is because you are afraid of they. And the story they told you about you is not your story. They always judge a book by its cover, but never got your story. Never give they the time of day, because people, it's in the twist stories. Because one day they will see your story become history. And if they ever said that you were worthless, that there was no value, don't know how they reached that conclusion. They profile you all up in your timeline to buddy up and pal you, then maliciously, viciously stomping on your style you. Remember, always speak your truth. Don't let them interrupt you. And just keep dishing and dishing till they can't get enough you. Now, speaking your truth is lonely. So for those that left you, tell them screw the fake approval. Hit them with an F you. If they leave, it's their loss. Let your roar get louder. When they envy your energy, tell them your truth is your power. And to all those that doubted you, make them a promise to be like the incredible you and smash the negative comments. Don't you get it? The real you is what the world needs more. And once you get it, you'll realize that the world is yours. Ain't no stopping you. Keep it moving. Become the better you. Never be a replacement. There'll be no one instead of you. When they think of your greatness, there'll be no one ahead of you. They'll be loving the alphabet. They'll say, I never met a you. It's incredible. The better you. The you need to be. So now that you have found your you, let's find the you inside of we.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Don't ever stop sharing that. That is amazing. I want you to drop that over like a TikTok beat and make that shit go viral. That is, I got goosebumps, man. That is awesome.
Much appreciated.
Thank you for sharing that. That is awesome.
Much appreciated, for sure. For
Man,
sure.
I think I love hip hop. I love poetry. I love, like, that could fit into so many things. But bottom line is, I hope that people rewind this. I don't know how long it took you to spit that. 2 minutes? Rewind it, play it again. Like, just let that speak into your soul. That was amazing. Amazing. I don't even know where to go from here now, man. That was amazing. All right, but I'm gonna continue on because we want to pull more fire out of you. So, as fathers, husbands, sons, brothers, and business leaders, why is it important for us? I love the shirt, love the brand, and how you know, if you're not watching on YouTube, you didn't see how he pointed to the all in and what that means. So I will repeat that. So why is it important for all of us to be all in for our wives, all in for our mothers, all in for our sisters, all in for our female team members? What's that mean to you? Tell us.
All in is, I had a conversation with this guy on Facebook, and he was a hippie dude. I was just starting coaching. And the way that I started coaching is real simple. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to teach. I didn't know what my topic was. So when I got approached by bookers and stuff like that, they'd be like, oh, what is your topic? And I'm like, I don't know. I just get on stage and people just listen. So he said, we'll figure it out. And I said, what if I stop speaking and I start listening? And I said, I'll can the speaking until I can figure out what I'm here to teach. And then I had a conversation with this dude on Facebook, and he was like a hippie dude. And he was like, I talked about how commitment is freedom. And he said, no, not, he said, I said something about commitment. And he was like, no, I want freedom. And I was like, commitment is freedom. And he was like, no, it's like, we want to be able to do whatever. And I said, you know what? I've been looking for a name for my company. And I was like, but I don't want to call it commitment, And then I did a leadership workshop. And then they said the two aspects of any high performing individual or organization are alignment and integrity. Alignment and integrity. And the idea is that, alignment, meaning that is that your mind, body, and your spirit are all pulling in the same direction, that there's an alignment of values, vision, mission.
Yeah.
And integrity. This is the full definition of integrity that I give to all my clients. The very first thing that they need to be able to recite and remember this verbatim is integrity means honoring your word, which includes keeping your word. And in the event that you are human, you do not do what you say you are going to do, that you are honorable enough and accountable enough to acknowledge what you said, apologize if you caused any harm, and create a new agreement. Generally, what happens in the integrity part where people fall flat is they don't create new agreements that they are dedicated to committing to. I will repeat that they are dedicated to committing to. They literally just verbalize things because it's just a coping mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Because language is a coping mechanism. So we say things that we don't inherently mean. And so when you talk about alignment and integrity, and you're looking at, especially in the context of how we support our wives and our partners, somebody asked me one time, he said, man, I want you to teach me how to be dangerous. I said, you want me to teach you how to be dangerous? He said, yeah. He said, Jordan Peterson says every man needs to understand his capacity for violence. He said, I want you to teach me how to be dangerous. I said, all right, cool. I will teach you how to be dangerous. I said, would you like to fight me? He said, absolutely not. I said, why? He said, you want to learn your capacity for violence? He said, yes, but not against you. I was like, that's not how it works. You don't get to choose what you go against. That's not the way that it works. So he's like, I was like, well, do you want to fight me? Yes or no? He said, no. I said, great. Now that we got that out your system, would you like to be the most dangerous man in the world? He said, yes. Then why don't you do something that 99% of guys do not know how to do? Keep your word. Just do
so
what you
good.
You want to be dangerous? Do what you say you're going to do. And then do it better. You'll crush the competition. People will say all types of shit to get you away, to satiate you, to appease you, to because they haven't learned how to handle, they haven't developed an internal operating system. They haven't developed an internal operating system that's standard. I show up on calls 5 minutes early because it's my standard, not yours. Because it's how I show up. I take notes because I'm dope, not you. You might be dope too, but I take notes everywhere I go. I'm different than you. I'm made different. Y'all are out here posting on social media, doing all types of shit. I'm fighting for my life every day. Not from a place of scarcity, but from a place that says, look, this is the human being that I have chosen to become. This is the representation of the way that I choose to operate in the world. And so my intention is to be in integrity with myself and in alignment with myself every day, and to check what the areas in my life I am not all in. Many of us as men, sometimes, especially when you're awakening to this idea that you get to operate a different way, to get to operate at different standards. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do some religious things. I post a picture of my watch on social media every day. I take a picture of my watch. I post a true masculine leadership principle. I post it on Facebook. It mirrors on Instagram. People go to my social media feed. They go, man, well, that doesn't work the algorithm. Fuck the algorithm. I'm just showing up the way that I show up. I'm just showing up the way that I show up. And everything else will evolve from there. And so for me, there's too many guys who are tap dancing, you know what I'm saying, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, and trying to make sure that they're making sure to appease and to fit in and to mold and to be accepted by every other individual, and they don't know who they are and what they stand for. And the one thing I tell you, man, is that I'll just end on this last note, is that the way that we do that is we get refined by men like you. Is that steel sharpens steel, lions sharpen lions. So we get to be in the presence of high integrity men like you, and we get to refine each other. That's the way that operates.
No, I 100% agree. I actually teach a similar concept and talk about the why behind doing what you're going to do and doing what you say you're going to do. Because every time you say that you're going to do something and you don't, it erodes your self confidence, erodes your self worth. Every time you do, and I'll give a stupid example, like if you say you're going to brush your teeth twice a day, brush your teeth twice a day, because every time you do it, it builds your self confidence, it builds your self worth, and that leads to self efficacy. So that's the why behind everything that you just said. It's incredible. So awesome. So purpose, passion, profits, and principles. You love your P's, by the way. I love it. So we've said a lot today, but I believe that these four pillars summarize it well. How do our listeners prepare to go all in? Where do they start? Because you've just dropped some incredible wisdom. I always want to leave something like tactical for our listeners that may be like, hey, Sanyika and Josh are up here and I'm just not there yet. Where do I start?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I talk in stories, so I want to give you one other story that's really powerful for me about coaching. And I ask permission to tell this one because this is probably the most powerful coaching story I ever had. My oldest brother is 50 years old. Called me one day. He said, my brother, they call me Yika. He said, Yika, he said, I need your help. And, there's all that, that member of the family initially who's like, you feel like it's weird or, it's a little strange or whatever. and I was like, oh, okay. We always got the sort of the black swan or the different person in the group. And what I realized is that everybody's different. But the thing about him is that he wasn't just different. He was going through something. He was going through trauma. He was going through a realization of his trauma and it coming into not only his a mental awareness, but to his somatic nervous system. His body was remembering all the shit that he had gone through that he had not resolved as a kid. And so when you find yourself trapped in a shame spiral and you have these visions of what's possible, when you have these visions of what it is that you want to create in your life, and you're like, I want to create this, but I'm not creating it. And I want to create it and I'm not creating it. And your words are articulating it, but your body's not moving. It's because your body keeps the score. Mm-hmm. Your body keeps the score from when you were a child. All the trauma that you experienced and the way that your primary conditioning between the ages of 0 and 7 in terms of who you are and the way that you receive the world, in terms of your primary wounding. We won't get into all that, but all the stuff that you're experiencing. So I'm going to get you to that point. So if you find yourself at this place, my brother found himself at this place. He said, I need my help. And I said, man, what, you need help from me? You're my older brother. I was thinking that, I was like, you need help from me? Why? And I was like, because this is not age specific. Mm-hmm. And there are too many guys who are trapped in paradigms like age and race and stuff like that. And they're trapped in all these paradigms and say, well, I can't get no help from this person because they don't understand me because they too old. Can't get no help from this person because they too young. Can't get no help from this person because they too black. Can't get no help from this person because they too white. Can't get no help from this person because blah, blah, blah. And what that is essentially confirmation bias. It's you convincing yourself that you don't need the help because you are afraid to ask for help. We are not designed to succeed wildly. We are designed to stay exactly where we are because there is proof that you are safe. We are not designed for that. So if you have not cultivated the internal fortitude to reach the greatest possibility of who it is that you can become, and you find yourself at this, I'm just saying this because I want to make sure that this is laser clear. I want to break this down so that it is forever broken, is that this is the place from which you emerge. And when my brother reached out to me, he reminded me that I'm doing exactly what God called me to do.
Yes, sir.
Where do you start? What is the place that you start? Once you realize that you're in that place, you start with 8 P's. And you can't do this shit alone. I'm just going to bring this up because I really want to make sure people are like really aware of it. But you have to start with the problem that you are solving for. What's the problem and the pain point that you are solving for? And this is a really powerful practice to be able to execute with someone else, is that because sometimes you have convinced yourself that you're solving for a problem that isn't really the problem. You have to know the problem that you're solving for. Is it in your health? Is it in your wealth? Is it in your relationship? Period. Keep it simple, right? Do you have are you solving for the fact that you feel like you don't have enough money? Do you solving for the fact that your relationship is dysfunctional? Are you solving for the fact that you're not at the optimal health position that you have been seeking to be? Whatever that situation is, you have to identify the problem that you are solving for. The second thing that you need to do is be able to identify the point. What is the point? Meaning the vision of where it is that you are looking to accomplish. So what is the apex point at the top of that mountain? What is that? And then, and what is the period of time that you want to be able to reach this next level point? So when I say point, I'm not talking about you want to be worth $100 million or have a unicorn company in 10 years. I'm talking about the first big milestone that's going to get you out of where you are. You say if somebody's like, well, I'm down here, I'm just trying to get up to where Josh and Sanyika are, right? So the first big milestone, the first place that you feel like is it exiting your job? Is it getting a promotion? Is it losing 10 pounds? What is that point? What is that thing that actually is driving you to be able to do it? And then we have to identify the purpose. So what's the purpose? What is the reason for doing what you are doing? And listen, don't wax poetic. I know I'm a poet, but I'm a very, very direct communicator. Look, only time I get flowery and stuff is when I'm talking in poetry. Other than that, I'm just communicating directly. Just be straight up. The reason I need to do it is so that I can, so I can feed my family, or so that I can feel better about myself, or so that I can, so I can look in the mirror and be proud of who I am. Just keep it real simple. And then the philosophy, what system of thought or beliefs or behaviors are you going to adopt in this? So the problem, the point, the purpose, the philosophy. Then we get into the principles. What are the rules? What are the rules that you will follow? New set of rules. So look, if I want to lose 10 pounds, all right, use an example. So the problem is right now, Josh, I'm fucking fat, period. I'm just saying that as an example, right? So if I go,
I was gonna say, you look good, brother.
Go look, I'm overweight. All right, cool, got it. The point is, the vision is that I feel better about myself, and I feel better about myself by losing that 10 pounds, right? So the purpose is so that I can, the why, right? So why am I doing it? So I can look in the mirror, be proud of myself, feel confident. And then the philosophy is that I'm going to, the belief that I'm going to, and the mantra, I'm just using this one as an example, but just saying, look, as men, we do hard shit. And right now I know in my life has been hard, but guess what? Being overweight has been hard. Now I'm going to do the hard thing, which is not being overweight. So it's hard either way. Now I'm just choosing a different kind of hard.
Yeah, pick your hard.
Pick your hard, right? So then the principles, these are the principles. So these are the rules. The rules are kitchen opens at noon. It closes at 8. It means I'm going to be fasting. It means I'm going to be taking a nutritional approach. It means I'm going to be more regimented in terms of the way that I'm eating and the types of things that I'm eating. It means that I'm going to operate by a new set of rules and a new set of standards so that I can move to where it is. So that is going to be that's the principles. And so the plan, right, is I'm going to do this over the course of the next 90 days. I'm gonna do it over the course of the next 90 days. And then when people go, you know what, but I'm not really that much of a tracker. I don't really write things down. Then keep doing what you're doing. No one said you had to do this. No one said you had to lose 10 pounds. The reason that men do hard shit is for one reason and one reason only, because we are free. You are free to take on more responsibility. You are free to be a leader. You are free. The reason that we do that is because we're free. That is the exact reason that we do hard shit. And yes, it brings you to your knees sometimes. And yes, you will be in tears sometimes. And when we talk about vulnerability and we talk about guys, what happens is that what guys do is they leak and they spill on their wives and they spill on their partners, and they only give them the problems and the challenges they are going through, but they are not committed to creating an empowered future. Mm-hmm. And that is irresponsible vulnerability. Is that if you are not entering into the idea of what your vulnerability is with a commitment for yourself about the man that you are seeking to become, then that is the encapsulation at the end of your vulnerability. That's the punctuation of it. It's like, look, I'm feeling nervous and afraid and I'm scared and I don't know how I'm gonna lose this 10 pounds and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm committed to figuring this out, and I'm gonna get the community, I'm gonna get the support, I'm gonna get the people, I'm gonna make myself accountable in some way, and I'm gonna set a path so I can actually accomplish this thing. Like, that's the way that this thing moves. right? And so I'm being honest with you, babe. I'm being honest with you. I'm letting you know right now I'm terrified, but I'm letting you know I'm gonna figure this shit out. And I got I will hold myself in dignity as tears run down my face and snot bubbles drip into my mouth. And I'm looking at you and I'm like, look, I know I'm in this moment, but I'm gonna figure this shit out. And I'm gonna find the support network, the people, and the love, and the enlightenment that I need to get myself to this next level and this next phase. And I'm not even, and I don't need your permission in this moment or anything like that. What I need you to do is I need you to just witness me, because I'm gonna move, period. Because I have a new operating standard. And so the plan is what, when, who, and how I'm going to execute this mission. And so the process is how I'm going to be managing it. So I go manage it. I'm going to be tracking it. People tell me, I had this guy who was on a 21-day challenge. I asked him, I said, when you going to weigh yourself? He said, I'm going to weigh myself. I weigh myself once a week. I said, why? You only give yourself 2 chances to shift if you're doing something that's not optimizing? You got 21 days. You're going to weigh yourself twice? Are you serious? Weigh yourself every fucking day. It's 21 days. People go, well, you shouldn't look at the scale. Bullshit. Go for it. Your issue with numbers, it's not the scale's fault. You shift that. Yep. You look on the scale and you make adjustments every day. You give yourself 2 chances, you're basically failing. You're giving yourself a reason to fail. So get on that damn scale and stand up for that. So I was like, all right, great. So that's the process, right? And then here's the thing that we all need. You said the wins, right? Because you give yourself the confidence. The Latin root of confidence is confidere. The dictionary definition of confidence is to believe in yourself. But the Latin root of confidence is confidere, meaning with trust. It is trusting yourself to do what you said that you are going to do.
To keep your promises.
Keep your promises. So when you get the end, the last P is the proof. And when you give yourself proof that you can trust yourself to do what you said that you were going to do every single day, it builds confidence. Now I can trust myself every day because I wake up when I said I'm going to wake up. I'm operating the way I said I'm going to operate. I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. And let's say I didn't do the thing that I said that I'm going to do. I get to make the shift. I get to be in acknowledgement of it. And then I get to raise the bar again the next day to make sure that I execute with a T. And I get to get out of the manipulation that you've been doing to other people and making it about other people so that now I don't have the capacity, so that if I make a mistake, I go, oh, because it's somebody else's fault. The last thing I'll just say on this, so the 8 Ps, again, as we talked about, a tactical framework, the problem, the point, the purpose, the philosophy, the principles, the plan, the process, the proof. I will send you this graphic so you can have it to disseminate to whoever the hell wants to get the hell up off of where they're getting up off of. I know what the taste of asphalt tastes like. I can smell it. And there are too many people who have settled for rock bottom, and they've settled for less, and they have settled for nothing, and they are looking across from their partners, and their partners are asking them to wake up. Many of the guys that I work with, I would imagine you do the same, are CEOs. These are guys that are leaders, and many of them find themselves in a capacity where they have now achieved great levels of success, but still not in leadership.
Or still not with their spouse, or still not with their kids.
Absolutely. Still not with their spouse and still not with their kids because they're operating behind these paradigms. And so the breakthrough point in this moment is that in this moment, if you feel like there is a misalignment in your life, misalignment in your relationships, misalignment in your business, then this is the moment that you choose to go all in for you. For you. And then we figure out the process. Somebody said, well, I don't know how. I'm going to just give you this and tell everybody this. How is none of your fucking business? It's none of your business until you know your why. But how do I do it? None of your business. Are you all in? Are you all in? Is this the moment that we are either inspired from pain or we are inspired from possibility? And so the majority of people are inspired by pain. Are you tired of your conditions? Is this the moment you transform your life? Because if this ain't the moment, tomorrow will be the moment as well. But you've been living for tomorrow for the past 10 years. Is this the moment that you transform your life? today, right now, listening to the Spartan Leadership Podcast, is this the moment you transform your fucking life? I am a representation of urgency. Everywhere in your life that you have not lived up to the greatest possibility of who you could become, people ask me how I prepare for an audience. I get angry with the audience.
Because you know them.
Because I know them. I know how you have missed your responsibilities. I know how you have not stepped up in terms of the areas that you say that you are striving towards. I know the areas of what it looks like when you are close, but you gave up. I know exactly what it looks like. I've tasted the asphalt. I am a representation of the urgency for you to become the person that you always said that you were going to become. You said you wanted to be the man. Prove it. Prove it. This is your initiation. Prove it. That's the way that we move. So that 8P framework is a tactical strategy for you to create possibility. It's best done with somebody else, because sometimes the way that we've operated, you can always convince yourself, or you can start by creating it on your own and then get some vetting from a friend to be able to do it. It's great done in pairs or in other groups so that you can refine each other, so that you can refine the process. But start there, and then you can build up from there. It works whether you are at rock bottom. It works whether you are breaking records. It works at any component and capacity so that you can step into a greater possibility in your life.
I love it. And man, so much good stuff there. What came to mind for me while you're talking about it is like, so once you're dang right. Once you have the why, then we can move to how. The how I just want to give real quick. I was thinking about 75 hard because I'm on it right now, but I did it last year because it's not a physical challenge, although you're doing 2 workouts a day. So most people, when they are first hearing of it or thinking of it, think of it as a physical challenge. I did it for the mental reset. It's much more of a mental toughness program. And don't get me wrong, last year I got in the best shape of my life, better than when I was playing college football at 41 years old or whatever I was last year. I don't even remember at this point. Age is just a number, right? So then I'm doing it right now. So why did I do it again? Well, compound interest. I remember the feeling that I had at the end of that. I remember the feeling. I remember not just how I looked, but how I felt. I felt unstoppable. Mm-hmm. You could have chopped my legs off that last week and I would have crawled around outside for 45 minutes to get my outdoor workout in on my elbows. That's how mentally tough and unstoppable I felt. I want that feeling again. So what I do this year, I knew alone this year because I'd already done it. It's always hard to repeat that championship or go back and do another Ironman after you finish one, because you're like, what do you have to prove? You already did it. Well, I want that feeling again. And so to bring that extra accountability, I'm leading a group of about 45 people. Boom. And 45 brave souls are coming with me. And I created a small Facebook group, just called them 75 Hard Spartans. We're all attacking 75 hard. And some of us started out February 1st. Some of us are starting a little bit later. Some of them started a little bit ahead. The bottom line is we're posting, keeping each other accountable, posting victories, posting struggles. And that's kind of the how. So I would say that 8P framework is phenomenal, and you got to get the why. Otherwise, the rest of it doesn't matter. But if you wanted something real tactical, commit to 75 hard. That could be your how, because it'll change your life.
It is a powerful. I totally love it. I've done 75 hard. And it was one of the most game-changing things I ever did. I actually created a program after I did it called 2190. And that's how powerful 75 hard was. So I totally with you on 75 hard. It is a game-changing program, and my wife and I did it. We did it as a couple. It pushed us and it brought us closer together too.
Yeah.
So it was really, really significant. I love the fact that you're leading 45 people doing it. I love the fact that you're doing it again. I love the fact that it's created what it's created and inspired in you. To me, the 75 hard is an initiation. And that's why one of the things the foundation of my coaching philosophy is initiation. It is, I lead guys on through an experience called the initiation experience. It's a 3-day in-person event. And this event is designed specifically to challenge businessmen and guys that are stepping into their next level as husbands, fathers, and leaders to step up into an environment through 12 curated challenges to be able to help them to that is the how, right?
Love it.
So I invite guys into that specifically, but it creates tremendous growth in their leadership, helps the guys, minimum double their business and then take everything to the next level from there. So the initiation comes, or the 75 hard comes after the commitment, but how does 75 hard? It's like, I need the thing, you need it. And then you go, I need this something. I know that there are people who have accomplished it successfully. I'm stepping in, I'm going all in, and that's the way that it works, is that we choose the how, and then we figure out the why. I don't know a single parent that knew how to be a parent before they became a parent.
I'll raise my hand to that. Certainly did not know how. Still don't know how sometimes.
Indeed.
But I do know why. So that's the point. All right. I know after today, every Spartan that listens to this wants to follow you. So how do they follow you, connect with you if they want to get into this initiation? What's the best way for our audience to follow you and connect with you?
All the Spartans who have listened to this podcast, I just want to say, what is your job title? If you did not go, then I'm just giving you an opportunity to do it right now.
Yeah.
I really appreciate just being connected to your audience and connected to your people. The way that you would to be able to follow me is to follow me on Instagram at the All In CEO, THE All In CEO. You can go to the All In CEO, which is my website, or you can message me on Facebook primarily. So
awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, perfect. So everybody, you heard the man. Follow him and share the shit out of this episode. I don't think there's ever been a more powerful group of words spoken. What you get? I keep referring to as a poem, man, but that I'm going to replay that for myself infinite number of times. The BU poem. That's so. I used to, one of my business coach always used to say, he's in his late 70s now, but he goes, Pagao, powerful group of words. Pagao. So that was, again, one of the greatest Pagaos I've ever heard, was that 2 minutes BU poem that you so passionately spoke to our audience today, man. That was truly amazing. I feel blessed to have had you on the show, and blessed to have you share that with us. And don't stop sharing that, because it is that powerful. So with all that being said, Spartans, remember, good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.